So we were discussing whether this claim is true, and it turns out that this claim is not. And the counterexample was take the UOD to be the set of natural numbers, and P of x is even, and Q of x is odd. This says each number in the universe of discourse is even or odd. This one says, which is true, and this one says each number in the universe of discourse is even, false, and each number in the universe of discourse is odd, which is also false. So true imply false is false, so this direction is not true. So when something is not true, one should discover UOD and predicate definition for the variables P, Q and so on, such that the premise is true and the conclusion is false. Only then true imply false is false, and what you have discovered is indeed a counterexample. So please keep this in mind in case you intuitively think the claim is false and you are making an attempt to discover a counterexample. Let's look at the other direction, which is for all x P of x, or for all x Q of x, implies for all x P of x or Q of x. Just like the way we did before, and we will start simplifying by applying definition and so on. In case we get stuck and then we intuitively see that probably the claim is false, then we will make an attempt in discovering a counterexample. So apply the definition. By definition, this is P of x naught and P of x1. Like the way we did before, let me work with the first two terms. Or this side it is Q of x naught and Q of x1. Remember, there is and or, so use distribution. So use distributive law. So what you get is P of x naught and P of x1 or Q of x naught, this is one term, and you get P of x naught and P of x1 or Q of x1. Like that it goes, and this will also have and P of x2, this will also have and Q of x2 and so on. And simplify this. So on simplification, we get P of x naught or Q of x naught and P of x1 or Q of x naught and P of x naught or Q of x1 and P of x1 or Q of x1 and other terms. Okay, listen carefully. What is that we want? So we want to show this implies this. So what we want is somewhere here, and it is here, but these terms is something we don't want. But remember, this is true and this is a definition of this, so this is true. This is a simplification or distributive law on this, so this is true, this is true, which means each of this is true. This is true because it's AND operator, so each of this one is true. And so please note, P and Q implies P. That's a tautology. So which means you have something like P1 and P2 and P3, so on up to this. From that you can pick what you want. That's a tautology. So which means, so choose P of x naught or Q of x naught and pick relevant terms, drop the rest. Correct? Now I am taking this, the other two things are dropping. So this is true, this is true, this is true, this one is true, this one is true. So pick relevant true terms. That's all. Apply the definition again. If you apply the definition, this is for all x P of x, and this one is for all x, sorry. So apply the definition for all x P of x or Q of x. So if you instantiate x with respect to x naught, you get P of x naught or Q of x naught. Then x1, then P of x1 or Q of x1, and so on. And which means this implies this is true. So I repeat, from this apply the definition and use distributive law to expand, and you know that each of this must be true because it's AND. P and Q imply P is a tautology. In general you have some case statements that implies you pick what you want, the relevant statements. So I am taking the first one and the last one, and in general you will have other terms as well. If you simplify this further, you will get P of x2 or Q of x2 and so on. Then apply the definition, you get for all x P of x or Q of x, which is precisely our claim. Okay, so this shows that when it is R, one direction is true and the other direction is false. Similarly, when you bring there exist with respect to R, it is true on both direction, which we have seen earlier. With respect to AND, one direction is true, the other direction is false. And the one that is false, look for an appropriate counterexample. The one that is true, establish a proof of correctness like this. Fine? So we have shown that for all x P of x or for all x Q of x implies for all x P of x or Q of x is true. And we know that P imply Q is equivalent to saying negation Q imply negation P. So what I do, I use this and apply on this. So negation Q is negation of this implies negation of this. Now when negation comes along with the quantifier flips, you get negation P of x or Q of x implies negation for all x P of x and negation for all x Q of x. So this shows that there exists x, negation P of x and negation Q of x implies there exists x, negation P of x and there exists x, negation Q of x. As we have seen before, this one is, you can treat this as some S of x, this one is R of x, similarly this one is S of x, this one is R of x, which means, so you get there exists x, S of x and R of x implies there exists x, S of x and there exists x, R of x. So this is only one way, and converse is false. So converse is false, look for a counter example or refer my scribe. So Either you can prove this independently, just like the way we did for this. Otherwise, having proved this, use this identity that P imply Q is precisely there exists, is equivalent to negation Q imply negation P. Use this and apply. And what is this law? This is called contrapositive. So contrapositive and implication P imply Q are one and the same, equivalent. Just apply that, you get to see this. Converse is false, and one can look for a counter example. So just like we did with for all and existential quantifier and so on, one can also experiment with other operators. For example, let's look at this. Suppose I say there exists x, p of x imply q of x. Does this imply there exists x, p of x implies there exists x, q of x? So we want to know, is this claim true? So just like we experimented with operators, logical and or quantifiers for all there exist, one can bring other operators and one can ask for claim like this. Let's simplify and see to what extent we can do the simplification. So it is there exists x, and this one is negation p of x or q of x. So please note, when I say p imply q, this one is equivalent to writing negation p or q. Refer scribe or one of our earlier lectures. And this and this are equivalent. Simply apply this, and just now we have seen there exists x, p of x or q of x is there exists x, p of x or there exists x, q of x. Correct? In fact, it is by implication, but what we need is only one way. Correct? Now this and this, or I am taking this and writing this, okay? And now from this I get this, and from this I get there exists x negation p of x or there exists x q of x, okay? Now we know that there exists x negation p of x is equivalent to saying negation for all x p of x. When negation goes inside, for all becomes there exists and the quantifier sits inside. Correct? So which means this one is negation for all x px or there exists x qx, and again this and this are equivalent, okay? Now apply the definition. There is negation p or q is p imply q, and so this is like negation, say yes, this one is q. So negation s or q is equivalent to writing s implies q. And what is this? This one is for all x px implies there exists x qx, okay? Now we also know when something is true for all x p of x implies all boys are good, which means some are good, which means it is this. So please note, we are taking this and doing this, so this and this are equivalent, meaning I can even write this and this are biconditional, this and this are biconditional, and this and this are biconditional, this and this are biconditional. Now this is only one way, and this one is not true. Is not true always. Now from this biconditional is changed to only one way. Implication, this becomes there exists x, p of x implies there exists x, q of x. So just like the way we did, whatever rule I've used, I've written here, there exists x, p of x imply q of x is equivalent to writing there exists x negation p or q using this law, and then use 2, and this becomes there exists x negation p of x or there exists x q of x, and this one use the third one, and you can bring negation out but the quantifier flips, so negation for all x, px and so on. This you can see it as s and this one as q. Apply the definition or this one, you get this, and so far it is by equivalence. Now at this point in time, what happens for all x becomes there exists x because of item 4, because of the implication 4. Now this shows that the claim is true. The claim follows from the given premise. And so this is how logical argument goes. So you are given an English argument, you convert them into a first order logical expression, then you make use of identities like this. Now that it is proved, it becomes an identity. And so when you come across a statement like this in an argument, you can write this to simplify, you can use any of this to simplify, and so on. And so argument is converted into first order logical expression, then use well known identities to simplify. Subsequently you can say whether the given argument is true or not, meaning whether the conclusion logically follows from the given premise. And while attempting to prove it, it may so happen that you may get stuck, you may not be able to proceed further, and you may not be able to simplify because there are no identities to simplify. If that's the case, probably the claim is false. Then you look for a counterexample, because these are all in the context of set theory, and we make use of Venn diagrams to look for a counterexample. Or you look for appropriate UOD, definition for P, definition for Q, such that the premise is true and the conclusion is false. Remember, when we prove things like this, P and Q could be anything, and for any definition of P and for any definition of Q, this claim is true. That is what, because we have not assumed anything about P and Q. And what is the other half of this? If there exists P, if there exists Q, if there exists UOD, if there exists Q, if there exists P, for which premise is true and the conclusion is false, then the given claim is false. If for every UOD, for every P, for every Q, the premise is true and the conclusion is true, then the claim is true. Correct? Which is why when it comes to counterexample, we look for an instantiation. We look for a special UOD, special definition for P and Q, for which the claim is false. But when it comes to proof of correctness, we don't assume anything about P, Q and so on. Independent of the definition, so and so claim is true. And so as part of this lecture series on logic, in particular propositional logic and predicate logic, what we have started off is the English text, declarative statements and other statements, something like interrogative, imperative, exclamatory statements and so on. Subsequently we said the Greek logic or the logic that we discuss as part of this lecture series focuses on declarative statements. Then the Aristotle and others were saying logic is so powerful because it attaches meaning to statements. Then we started asking what is the meaning of this statement, and if the statement involves operators, something like implication, by implication, what is the truth value associated with it. We started discussing that in elaborate fashion. Then we looked at logical arguments, how to simplify them and see whether conclusion follows or not. That's when we started looking at these identities, implication and so on. And with this material, one can look at any logical conversation and convert them into first order logical expression, start simplifying them whether so and so is true. And in fact, the logical argument or the argument that happens in a court of law, or there is a debate going on between two parties, you see there is a logic in it. And whether the conclusion is true and whether the argument is making sense, whether the debate is coming at a proper conclusion, things like that one can actually derive formally using first order logic. And in fact that's a very vital application. Any argument that happens in a court of law, there is a logic involved. And the statement number 10 follows logically from statement number 9. And when you say statement 10 is this, and it never contradicts any of the observations made before or any of the statements made in the argument before. And if it turns out that so and so claim or so and so observation is contradicting any of the previous observations, then there is some inconsistency in the argument. That's when we actually look for some more observations, some more inferences, some more claims to support the argument and to take the argument forward. And the field logic, in particular first order logic, plays a vital role in proving such logical arguments. We will see more on this as we go along in this line. And when we look at other concepts such as or other domains, and we see more about FOL, how exactly FOL is used in the context of database systems, computer networking, and compiler design, automata theory, and hardware design, computer architecture, VLSI design, and so on. Okay. So please look at Scribe and to see more on identities and some more examples and some more implications and some more equivalences where one direction is true, where the other direction is false, and other counter examples, and which can be derived not through just Venn diagram. There are other techniques as well. So please take a look at the Scribe and solve many problems. Also look at practice questions and assignment questions. Both are given in detail with solutions. So please have a look at both of these.